Hello everybody, welcome. This is Double T Man with another video. It is May 12th, 2023. These are some thoughts on the 2023 NFL Draft. Just under 15-minute video, so just some thoughts. I'm going to talk about the three elite talents of this draft. The quarterbacks, always got to talk about quarterbacks. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about two of the team's drafts. And then I'm going to talk about worthless draft grades, at least from the networks and some from the internet. The internet's not much better, but just draft grades in general I think are horrible. First of all, let's talk about the three elite talents. Jalen Carter, Bijan Robinson. They're well known, everybody agrees with that. And they're, felt that Bijan went 8 and Jalen Carter went 9, and that's about where they should. Carter went down because of character issues. Not really sure how much he loves football. Bijan went down because he's a running back. Running backs always go down. The third one is the reason why I do this thing, because I can see superstars apparently that nobody else can see, and I see them all the time. I mean, I've been seeing them for years, and I started doing these videos just so I could document players like my next one. Darnell Washington. I don't understand. I look at this and I just don't understand why people don't see him as a superstar. Everybody agrees he's an elite athlete. Everybody agrees he's an elite blocker. The only thing left is he an elite receiver? Well, he's got great hands. Got 45 out of 50 passes thrown to him in college. Some of those catches were really good. 45 out of 50 would be the best in the NFL. So there's that. He has elite arm length, 34 3/8. Elite hand size, 11. He's great with run after the catch. Excellent. Seen the film. Watch the film. He's 6'7", 4.64 in the 40. Strong, excellent tape. Like I said, he's a freak athlete. I love how he catches the ball. He goes out there and grabs it. He still needs some work on his blocking, but yet he's an elite blocker already. So let me tell you, I don't see why he's not elite. I think everybody should think of him as elite. I thought going into the draft, he was head and shoulders above everybody else at tight end in the draft. And now, after learning more, I now think he's one of the best prospects in this year's draft. Period. And potentially the best. Potentially he has the potential to be the best tight end to ever play the game. Quarterbacks. I got Hendon Hooker number 1, mainly because I think he has a high floor. I mean, any one of these top 5 could be the best, including Hendon Hooker. But he can't be the worst. He won't be the worst. He's too safe. Everybody talks about how good he would have been, except for the knee injury. Well, knee injuries aren't like they used to be. Back in the 70s, knee injury was a death knell for quarterbacks. But nowadays, they come back from all the time. Running backs, receivers, everybody else comes back, especially quarterbacks. So I have him first. I just think he's safer. Less question marks. I know he can play. I'm not positive about anybody else. Will Levis, good 1 year, not so good the next. Okay, he had injuries, less offensive line, less receiving class. He had good reasons, but his play did go down, and that's a concern. C.J. Stroud plays for Ohio State. Most of the time, they're playing against inferior opponents. You don't learn too much, you don't grow too much playing inferior opponents. That's why Ohio State quarterbacks never work out. C.J. Stroud looked good against Georgia, fantastic against Georgia. But that was one game. And he's had other games that were pretty good against pretty good competition. But he only had one standout game. So he's a little bit of a risk. I have a gap there then between Bryce Young. Everybody knows his issues. He's small. He's frail. You got a 17-game schedule, at least 3 games in the playoffs. It's 20 games. I don't think he can make it. Anthony Richardson, he's a great athlete who can throw. Quarterbacks, it's more about the head than it is the body. So I don't trust Anthony Richardson. Limited time on the field and limited success. His completion percentage was abysmal. So that's my order for quarterbacks. We'll see in time if I'm right or wrong. First team I want to talk about is Detroit. They went down from 1-6 to 112, and they went up from 81 pick to 34, and they picked up the 5th round pick. So they go down, they go up, and they pick up a pick. That's what they did. With the 12th pick, they picked Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, a little bit of a reach. And with 18, they picked inside linebacker Jack Campbell, a little bit of a reach. A lot of people were kind of questioning this after the first day, saying, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing this?" Well, the 12th pick, like I said, and I think both of them are a little bit of a reach, but both of them I kind of understand. Jahmyr Gibbs is an excellent running back. He was the second best running back in this draft, which kind of goes to show you how good Bijan Robinson was, that I think Jahmyr Gibbs is an excellent running back. But what Detroit did, as far as this, as far as taking a running back, as far as his reach, I should go, they did what every team should do if they plan on reaching for a player. If they believe that they need to take a player before everybody else would, a reach, so to speak, they should trade down, which is what they did, and pick up some draft capital. Doesn't have to be much, just a little bit. Then that makes that running back or that reach better. So you're going to reach for a player, do what they did. They traded down, then they reached. That makes it a good pick. Inside linebacker, Jack Campbell. He was a unicorn in this draft. He was the only inside linebacker I liked in this draft. So taking number 18, if he turns out to be a superstar, and he's the only one in this whole draft, 18 is not too early. I think it was a decent draft. I'm not going to, the first round, I'm not going to go high over heels and say it was great. But I understand what they were doing, and it has a chance at working out. I'm not going to criticize it. Houston Texans, F-. Second pick. They had the second pick in the draft. They drafted C.J. Stroud. Like I said, not my top guy, but I'm gonna be okay with it. Then they made the trade that causes the F-. Houston gets the third pick in the draft because they wanted to go up to it. They also get pick 105. And they gave up pick 12 and 33 of this year's draft in the first and third round in next year's draft. And they drafted Will Anderson. First of all, Will Anderson is an excellent player, but he's not elite. He may become elite. T.J. Watt wasn't elite when he got drafted, but he is now. Will Anderson is not elite now, but he could be. I only say he's not elite now because it kind of makes his trade look pretty bad when you consider the fact that he's not an elite talent. If you look at the value, the draft capital value, and you look at the best case scenario, Houston wins the Super Bowl. Going by the trade value charts, they still lose by 100 points. Granted, if Houston wins the Super Bowl, they'll be happy to give up those 100 points. 100 points aren't nothing. But let's face it, nobody thinks Houston's going to win the Super Bowl. Nobody. Not even Houston thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl. Actually, the best chance that they have, going by Vegas, is to actually finish second in the draft. They expect them to be the second worst team in the NFL. So now, that changes things. Now this turns into pick number 2. This one turns into pick 65. All of a sudden, the value is 46.45 versus 22.84. And it's not even really that complicated. They traded up to pick the third pick in the draft of this year, which is a weak first round, high-end first round draft. And in next year's draft, which is supposed to be stronger and deeper, they had the second pick. So they probably got a lesser player than they could have gotten next year with the second pick, or at least comparable. So where these two cancel each other out, these two cancel out, and you gave up the 12th and 33rd pick. Basically 84 cancels 65. You still get the advantage with 65, but they kind of cancel. Pick 3, pick 2 cancel each other out. You've given up pick 12 and pick 33, and that's loss. That's what you've lost. You had a great deal when you traded with Cleveland. You had all these picks, and you wasted it. You failed. Mel Kiper passes everyone, including Houston. He even gave Houston a B grade. That's how, pitiful Mel Kiper is. He used to be good. When he first started off, he had an opinion. He would tell people when they sucked. He would tell people when they were stupid. Now it's just, I don't agree with them, or I wonder, they better hope that they do good next year. Yeah, that's what he said. We're talking about Houston. He's like, they better hope that they do good next year. Because if they do bad, it's a horrible trade. He should have said that. Just kind of cuts himself short. Got to be nice. Got to give everybody a participation trophy. Nobody fails. So, what they do, what Mel Kiper does, and what all the TV draft experts have decided is the way to go, is they're going to grade teams based on how much they help themselves. I don't care whether they did good or bad or how much future capital they give away. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is, did you help them? Well, every team's going to be helped. If a monkey pulled names out of a hat, he's going to get help for a team. Mel Kiper and all the others would focus on the positives, and instead of criticizing the horrible picks, they'd only question them, and then the experts would give them a grade of a B minus. Ridiculous. It's weak, and it's not very informative. Can't have good without the bad. Even if everybody did everything right, everybody was perfect, you would have somebody that's lucky, the draft fell to them, versus somebody that's unlucky, the draft didn't fall to them. I needed an offensive lineman. We got one with the first round. Fantastic. I need an offensive lineman. I didn't get one throughout the whole draft, or I reached for one because I needed one. That's not good. That's bad. That's unlucky. Definitely can't have a great draft without a bad one. You can't tell me Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and all these other teams had great drafts without having somebody have a bad draft. Just impossible. You want to know what they really think? You look at the consensus mock draft and the consensus player ranking, and you compare that to where your team drafted them. Like Broderick Jones, Pittsburgh, offensive first pick 14, right? 14 mock draft 18. That's a decent value. You look at the other ones though. Joey Porter, great value. Keanu Benton, not so good. Darnell Washington, like I said, one of my favorites. We got him at 93. He was ranked 31 and 36, depending on if you're looking at the consensus mock draft or consensus player rating. That's a great draft. That's a great pick. This is a great pick. Going by that. This is a great pick. So you have all these great picks. You can tell the Steelers had a great draft just by looking at this. It doesn't take into everything. It doesn't take account into everything. You can trade like Houston did, and that would count against you. You could trade and be who they trade with? Detroit. No, it isn't trade with Detroit. They traded with Arizona. Arizona, you get all these picks, great trade. That's going to help you. So it's not just about the scores, but if you're a fan and you don't really know that much about what's going on, this is a way for anybody that can just Google consensus mock draft, compare your players from where they should have been. That'll tell you what the experts think about their draft. You're not going to get it listening to them. The only thing you're going to get out of them is a description of the players you got. That's it. Next year, the one and only time I'm going to do this, but next year I'm going to study for the entire draft. Not just the top part of it, but the entire draft. And I'm going to do this for the sole purpose of creating the best draft grade video possible. In other words, my grades are going to be very accurate. They're going to be in-depth. I'm going to grade on a curve. So for every A, there's going to be an F. For every B, there's going to be a D. Not necessarily like that, but I'm going to use a point system just going to make sure that it's even. But it will be. For every plus, there's going to be a minus. The grading period is going to be for the 2024 off season, which I have starting January 1st of next year and ending with the draft. And I'm very likely to never do this again. I just want to do it once, put it in prosperity, check it in the books. Years later, come back and see how good I do. I'm thinking I'm going to do pretty good because I'm really, really good at this. Just nobody knows it. Well, that's all I got. This is my video. This is what I was doing. I do all my videos for under 15 minutes. Next year's video, the grades will actually have to be considerably longer because I'm going to go into each team in detail on that one. Just kind of warmed up for the last couple of years, put some predictions out there, and so far my memory is matching up with what my accuracy is showing to be. I'm very, very good at finding out the really good players. And yeah, I missed some. I missed out on Tony Mandarich forever ago. And there have been others, not only Tony Mandarich. I don't want to put it down to where I haven't missed anything in 30 years. But by and large, I'm really good at this. Go back and look at some of my last couple of years. Last year's still a little bit early. Going to have to wait till next year to determine that. But if you look at my past videos, I got Kenny Pickett. I got Sauce Gardner. I got Hutchinson, you know. Anyways, I'm going to go. That's all I got. Thank you for listening. Bye.